Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Skillsroad Teachers webinar. This afternoon, we're going to have a bit of a chat about some of the things we've got on Skillsroad that are really aimed directly at teachers that you can use in the classroom with your students and also for yourself. The Skillsroad webinar comes to you today from the Australian Business Apprenticeship Centre. And the Australian Business Apprenticeship Centre is a specialist in an independent provider of Australian apprenticeship services in New South Wales and ACT. My name's Danielle Buckley and I'm a coaching and consulting psychologist. I'm really interested to see who's on the call today. We've done a number of these webinars over the last little while. And for those of you who haven't attended before, what you'll see in your little chat box on the left-hand side of your screen is the opportunity for you to write questions and comments. And as we move through the webinar, I'm going to invite you to answer some of the questions, put some things down. So if everyone can have a look there on your left-hand side, if you've got any questions, please just put your cursor in the bar and you can write some questions there. And my colleague Phil here today is here to help you with any questions, any comments as we move through. We'll also have a few polls just to keep it interactive and to let me know who's on the call and what people, we've got lots of questions coming through already. This is great. So we'll have a couple of polls as we move through today's talk as well, so I can find out who has been on any of these webinars before and who hasn't. So we'll put a poll question up to start with, and the first question is, who has attended a webinar before? Two answers, yes or no here. Okay, so we've got some yeses and some nos. Just select the question which represents your experience. Okay, so we've got just over 60% of you have been on a webinar before and 30% haven't. A few people changing their mind. But as I said, as we move through today's talk, I really want this to be as interactive as possible. So please don't hesitate as I move through the tools and move through some of the content that we're going to share with you to write any questions that you might have in your chat box. And just so you know, not everyone sees your question, so no question is silly. Be brave, ask questions, and the questions go directly to us here. And if you've got technical questions, we can answer those, or questions about the exact content as well. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk a bit today about Skillsroad. And in the previous webinars that we've done, we've introduced Skillsroad and we've gone through a few of the tools that have been on there. There's tools on there for students, for teachers, for parents and for employers. What we're going to go through today is a bit more on Skillsroad. So we'll introduce some of the new tools and lesson plans that we have on there for teachers, and just talk a bit about the thinking behind Skillsroad and how we'd love to see teachers use it. And we want to invite you towards the end of the webinar to let us know if there's anything else that you need on Skillsroad that would help you. Bearing in mind that Skillsroad really is a community initiative from the New South Wales Business Chamber and the Australian Business Apprenticeship Centre. And we want Skillsroad to be your one-stop shop for all the career advice that your students need, and whatever we can offer as well to help you work with your students when it comes to choosing and thinking about their career. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Skillsroad, some of the things that we have on there at the moment are the career quiz, which is our most popular tool. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We have talked about that previously, so we'll just go over that quickly. We have some career videos and a whole lot of career information. So we've gone out to a number of employers and interviewed a number of people on the types of career they have and what they've done in order to get that career. We've got launching on the 1st of July, and one of the tests that we'll go through today is a job fit test. And this is a free tool for students to go through, and it assesses students' work readiness and also gives them the opportunity to look at specific jobs and whether they're going to be suitable for those jobs. As I said, launching 1st of July, but we'll go into that in a bit more detail later. We've got a resume builder on there. We've got jobs board on there. So we've got a number of employers now who are working directly with the New South Wales Business Chamber that are advertising all of their jobs on the jobs board for apprentices, trainees and other general positions. We've got tip sheets for students, parents, teachers and employers, blogs, and now we have a whole lot of competitions as well. And as I said, it is a community initiative and we want this to be a one-stop shop for all your career advice. So everything that we've got on here at the moment is free for people to use. And as you'll see, we go through some of the lesson plans at the end. Teachers can use the resources on Skillsroad to assist them in their teaching and to help their students. So another poll at the moment, I'm just curious to know who has signed up to Skillsroad. Who has signed up to Skillsroad? Answer the poll question. Wow, this is fantastic. Every single person has signed up to Skillsroad. Oh, no, we've had a latecomer. All right, thank you so much. So if you haven't signed up to Skillsroad, I'd really encourage you to do this at the end of today's talk, because to access the resources you do need to sign up. It's free, as I said, but yeah, sign up and then you can download a number of these things and use them. So I want to talk to you today a bit about the approach that we've taken with Skillsroad, and for those of you who are really familiar with positive education, you'll know that there's so many schools now, and as forming part of government policy, that schools start focusing on well-being. And when we think about career and we think about well-being, it's really important that students make the connection that, you know, when it comes to thinking about your career, it's not just thinking about what sort of job you're going to have. And we want students to have high levels of well-being because then they make really informed decisions. They make informed decisions and they're really engaged in the choices that they make, and that's a really good benefit for us. So if I can define well-being to start with, we can define well-being as a sustainable state of positive mood and attitude, resilience and satisfaction with self, relationships and our experiences at school. So this is a definition of student well-being. And a lot of the things that we've started to add to Skillsroad and lesson plans and things that we've put together for teachers has taken a bit of a different angle. So we're really trying to get teachers and students to think about what makes them their best self. What are their strengths? What do they want out of work? And not just think about the big picture, which is what job do I want to have? So we know, based on all the feedback that teachers have given us, that students and employers have given us, we know that one of the big barriers in helping students move into the workplace is that they don't know what to do. And we know that choosing a career can be really, really hard. So we think that by developing student wellbeing, so helping students understand a bit more about themselves, so whether that be their personality styles, what motivates them, understanding a bit more about their strengths, so what are they good at, what can they bring to the workplace, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, and what sort of relationships they need to develop. If we've got all of these things and students can equip themselves with all of these pieces of information, they're going to have high levels of well-being and they're going to make better career choices. So a lot of the tools and techniques on Skillsroad is really underpinned by positive education and getting students to think about the big picture. This is important because we know that students with high levels of well-being actually have better cognitive outcomes at school. And recently we've had a number of government white papers that have talked about schools having a really significant input in developing the whole child, and this is starting even from preschool now and primary school and all the way up into secondary school. So the more we can focus on well-being, the better career outcomes we're going to see with our students. And the research tells us that when we have high levels of well-being, we do see higher academic achievement, we see higher completion rates of school, we see better mental health, and we see more pro-social behaviour. And if we think just about apprenticeships for a moment, once students leave school, and they take up apprenticeships, we know that one of the main reasons that they don't complete is because of poor relationships and their ability to cope with the challenges that they have in the workplace. So the more that we can equip them with these skills in a school environment and as they develop into young adults, the better they're going to be in the workplace. How am I going so far? Do we agree? I want you to head down to your chat box and type yes or no whether you agree with what I'm saying about the importance of well-being and developing well-being if we want students to make good career choices down the track. Good to see we're all on the same page. Any questions, please write them down. Thank you so much for your participation. We've got a question about supporting well-being. Yeah, good point. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, I guess in relation to supporting well-being, is making sure we talk to students about what's motivating them in the workplace and what's going to motivate them to get a job and get a career. And I'm going to explain what may look like a very complicated table, but it's actually quite simple when we look at it. And this table is underpinned by probably one of my favourite psychological theories, self-determination theory. And if I draw your attention to the very middle table here, middle circle where it says integrated sense of self. When we have an integrated sense of self, we have really high levels of well-being. And so what that means is we know what our strengths are, we know what interests us, we know what our values are, we know what motivates us. And very few adults, I think, in my time as a psychologist know this, but where positive education is going in schools is we're really starting to get kids to think about these things from an early age. So, it's not just about when they get into high school that they're thinking about this, but all the way throughout primary school and secondary school they're starting to think about this. Now, traditionally, when we look at the different reasons for why people do certain things, on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that there's controlled reasons. So if you make a decision for a controlled reason, usually that's because there's some kind of external pressure. Somebody said you have to or told you that you should do something. So what we see with a lot of children who take on apprenticeships very early on in the first 12 months and they don't complete, usually when we start asking why they didn't complete, the answers are because they took it on for the wrong reasons. They decided that going down that path was something that they should do, or mum said they had to do, or they made that decision because of external pressures or some kind of feelings like they should. Whereas when we see kids who last in a career, and no matter how hard lots of times lots of things are in the career, they're making the decision for autonomous reasons. So they're doing it because they want to or they can see the benefit in it, but they're the self-author of that decision. We start seeing that people are more likely to last in that career. So no matter how hard it is and what setbacks they have, if kids are choosing their career because they want to do it as opposed to someone saying that they have to, they're more likely to stick it out. And I think this is probably really important for teachers to know, probably for your own self-benefit, and I'm sure we can all relate to being in a situation where we're doing something because someone said we have to, rather than doing something because we've said we really want to. But we're starting to talk a lot about this with employers, and as part of interview processes and job descriptions and all of those things that employers are talking to with possible students, they're looking for reasons why students want the job. So any opportunity we've got, whether that's at school, as a parent, whatever forum, trying to get students to really think about why do you want this job? What sort of career do you want to have? What interests you? And developing that sense of self and making career decisions based on what they want to do, not what someone said they have to, is really important. And a lot of the tools that we'll go through on Skillsroad have really been underpinned by this. So helping students think about what's best for them based on their personality, their strengths, their interests, and having some different forums and different ways that they can make informed decisions. Now have a look at some of the questions now. So I'll ask you just for a minute to reflect on this. It's a lot to take in if you haven't done it already. Have a reflect and see what you think. Any questions, please write them in your box. You've had a great question come through. What is the role of student support and how can teachers use that to support wellbeing? Really interestingly, in a government paper released in the last couple of months that looked particularly at student wellbeing, in a longitudinal study of Australian students, 40% of students said that they felt they didn't have anyone that they could trust to talk to about their career choices and be truthful and honest in what they thought they should do and what they wanted to do. So I think the best way that teachers can support wellbeing is by helping students develop that sense of self. So understanding what we're good at, what students are interested in, what they like doing, and encouraging students to nurture that. Because we all know that we are most engaged in our workplace when we're doing things that we're good at and we enjoy. The amount of kids that we've certainly dealt with over the years that have been forced into apprenticeship or forced into a university pathway that isn't necessarily what's best for them has only led to non-completions, and we don't want to have that. Any other questions about motivation, student wellbeing, and how this plays a role in choosing a career? Okay, so we've got another question about how do we get young people actively involved in choosing what they want. And it's a really good question because I do hear over and over that students don't know what they want to do. And I want to take you through some of the Skillsroad tools to get that conversation started. And again, you know, the best thing about Skillsroad is one of the things, well, a number of the tools that are there are really about gathering information. So trying to use this as a forum for students to just explore what's out there in really informative but visual ways so that they can make informed decisions. And we do know from the research that we're thinking about 75% of jobs that will be available in the next 5 years aren't developed yet. So when we want to encourage students to not think about the end goal that they want in terms of a specific job, but thinking about what are they good at, what are they interested in, what strengths do they have, and choosing a pathway that nurtures those and then finding a job as a result of that. So student wellbeing and Skillsroad, as I said, we really want to get students thinking about the big picture, so not just thinking about a job. And we want to encourage curiosity and learning. And again, the research is telling us that when we focus on student wellbeing, Australians can ensure greater participation in the workforce, more social inclusion, and more effective building of social capital. So there's lots of reasons why the wellbeing focus is feeding into thinking about what's next in terms of a career. So what's on Skillsroad? We're going to go through some tools for students so you can have a look at some of the new things that we've got on there. And I'll take you through some of the lesson plans and the resources that teachers can use. The Skillsroad lesson plans really are aimed to provide teachers with a framework for lessons, and they cover different resources that you've got. They give you teachers' notes, activities for students, and some of them have homework and worksheets as well. Just in your chat box, can you let me know and just write yes if anyone has used any of the lesson plans before that we currently have on Skillsroad? We've got some people that have used the lesson plans, some people haven't. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the different elements of Skillsroad now, and I'll pause at certain intervals so those of you who are taking notes about how you might use it can collect your thoughts and write things down. And as per always, any questions, pop them in the chat box. So the first thing that we've got, and we have talked about this previously, but I do want to revisit it. The first thing we've got is the career quiz. And the career quiz is designed to help students understand their motivational style. So we know from the research that we all have basically one of 4 things that motivate us, whether that be relationships with people and caring for others, whether that be results and getting things done, whether that be someone who's quite analytical and likes detail, or someone who can really mold themselves into either of these categories. Now, what the career quiz does is it gets students to understand their motivational style and what type they fall into. Why this matters is because different types, different personalities suit different careers. So again, if we're thinking about student wellbeing and we're thinking about choosing roles that bring out the best in us, that, have that integrated sense of self, by completing the career quiz, students are going to get a list of possible careers that are going to suit them from a motivational perspective. And again, so many teachers and parents are saying to us, my kids don't know what to do, but this is just really good for getting an insight into what sort of personality you are, and as a result, what possible careers might suit you. It's a really great tool. It doesn't take long. We've got a few people coming through on the chat line who have used it, and as I said, it's a free tool. There are a lot of career quizzes out there that use a really similar psychological theory. It's used because it's the best theory when it comes to career and motivation. So some of them are paid, but just so you know, this is not a paid tool. So I'd encourage you in your classrooms, at home, get on there and give it a go. Teachers, you can do it too. It's a fantastic tool, not just for kids, but as a really good way to understand a bit more about you and your personality style. Has anyone used the career quiz so far? Any teachers on the line that have used the career quiz? I've got a couple of people coming through saying that they have. Our statistics on Skillsroad are really high with the career quiz, which tells us that there's a lot of people that are using it out there. So when you log on and join Skillsroad, everything that you then use on Skillsroad will be saved against your profile. So if you want to come back and revisit it at some point, you can do that. So the career quiz is great for kids just trying to get that kickstart and saying, I don't know what to do. Well, based on, my motivational style, what could suit me? Really just get the creative juices flowing. As I said, you get a list of possible careers as a result. The next part of Skillsroad that we can use to help students is the career planning part. So this is all about exploring different careers. And again, if we're thinking about making students and getting students to think about what suits them, what we want to do is give them as much information as they can see and they can take on board to make an informed choice and learn about what options are out there. And, compared to when I went to university and when I started my career, there are so many career options that, I'm still shocked at when I learn what different people do. So there's a good argument to get kids on here, even if it's for a whole lesson, just exploring and watching the different career videos. We've got videos from people who work with wildlife animals in the Northern Territory to your local plumber and builder. There's so many options, and they all talk about the path that they took to get into that role, as well as the skills that they use day to day and what it's like working in that career. So a really good resource, and we're continuously getting more and more videos put on there from a range of different pathways. So we've got vet pathways and university pathway careers on there. So a great resource for kids to get on and have a look. So as I said, students can watch hundreds of different career videos. We've also got about 300 different job descriptions that for each of the careers, they talk about the job description, their typical pay and typical working days and working conditions. Because again, what we're starting to learn is that kids just don't know what the certain jobs involve unless their parents do it or their parents' friends do it. So watch some of the interviews, keep it going. And if you're having conversations with your students that there's certain careers they want to learn about, please get in touch, because the content that we put on here is really fed through by and informed by what teachers, employees and students are asking for. As I said, we're a community initiative, so please get in contact with us if there's more information on here that would be useful for you to use with your students. Now, for the teachers, when it comes to thinking about career planning, we currently have 9 different lesson plans aimed at career planning. So I've gone through one of the things you can do with your students, which is just getting them to have a play on Skillsroad and simply explore the videos and explore the different careers. But we also have lesson plans on there, all devised and designed by psychologists, on motivation, on building resilience, setting goals, understanding the different learning styles, and what it means to have discipline and how you develop discipline. And again, you know, if we're looking at the psychological research, people who are able to develop those strengths of curiosity and self-regulation and persistence are much better fared for success in life than any form of academic outcome. So what we really want to try and get teachers and parents particularly doing is encouraging those softer skills, encouraging those strengths, building resilience in kids early on, and that's going to set them up for a great career, whatever they choose to do. But it's having that right level of motivation, being resilient, setting goals, choosing careers that match your style, and being disciplined that's going to set people apart from others. Any questions on any of those lesson plans? Got a few people writing at the moment. Any questions? Just write them in your chat box before we move on. Okay, so moving on to job preparation, we've talked a bit about the thinking about the career part, the exploring and planning what career might suit you. Then there's job preparation. So say your students have a bit of an idea about getting a job or what they want to do. One of the best tools that we have in Skillsroad is the resume builder. So again, once you've logged on and signed up to Skillsroad and created a profile, students can get on there and create their resume. And it's got all the templates and areas that employers are looking for when students need to put a resume together, and it's simply, you can plug it all in and it will create a really good looking resume for students. I've had a lot of teachers in the past ask about you know, how similar they all look, and that's where we get kids to change that by writing the good cover letters for all of the different jobs that they might be applying for. But the best thing about the resume builder is, even if students haven't got work experience yet, there's opportunities to put anything down that they're doing school or work related, so they can start going through the process of learning how to create and how to build a resume. I'm just going to pause for a moment because we've got a couple of questions come through on the chat line. One being, can students save this to their own computer and modify it as necessary? Yes, absolutely. So you can create a profile, and every time you log on to Skillsroad, whether you're at school or at home or wherever you are, you can add and you can tailor it, you can re-access it, and you can do whatever you need to. So any people that are on the line that are also parents, I would also encourage this, you know, if you've got teenage kids, to get online and play with it. Resume Builder produces it in a Word document too, so if there are other things that your students or your child want to add, they can simply edit it from the Word document. The point of the Resume Builder is, you know, the feedback we're getting is kids aren't sure how to create a resume. Lots of parents don't know how to create a resume, and this is really giving them a kickstart in a safe environment that has been informed by what employers are looking for. Any other questions? Okay. So moving on, in terms of job preparation, some of the things that we have created on the Skillsroad for teachers are some more lessons around helping students develop personal brand and succeeding in interviews, and just reflecting on developing that sense of self-awareness. So what I'd like to show you is 2 videos that we've put together to be used in the classroom. The first video is about preparing for an interview, and we've filmed some videos that talk about what a good job preparation, good interview preparation looks like versus not so good preparation. And we've put some lesson plans around this, so you can show the video in class and then ask the kids some questions and have some discussion and reflection points. And as I said, all of these lesson plans are on Skillsroad. I'm going to play the video for you, just a short bit of it, just so you can see what I mean. The first one's preparing for a job interview.
Hi, you must be Nathan for the...
Yeah, hold up. Mum? Yeah, no, it is in here. Just, can you just wait? All right, cool. Sorry.
have a seat. So, Nathan, tell me a bit about yourself. What have you been up to until now?
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, I finished high school in year 10. And then I've been like traveling. So with my mates and my girlfriend, she was my girlfriend. Come back, obviously, and just been. Well, my parents got me an apprenticeship, and I've been doing that and TAFE since then.
Okay, great. So,
so you'll see this is an example of a really bad job interview. And following this part,
I sort of need to, like,
we've
obviously,
got
I think those
an example of
gap year, and actually went travelling to Africa.
What a good job interview
Right,
looks
cool.
like. I'll let you watch a bit of the good job interview
Mum.
first.
You didn't print my children check.
thanks for coming, Nathan. Come in. Hi, you must be Nathan for the plumbing apprentice job.
Yes, hi.
Sit down, please.
Thank you.
So, Nathan, tell me a bit about yourself. What have you been doing up until now?
Yeah, sure. So after I finished my HSC, I took a gap year and actually went travelling to Africa on a volunteer program, which taught me a lot about sort of the opportunities that we have here. And I came back and actually got a plumbing apprenticeship with a friend of the family.
Okay, great. So why are you looking for a job with us when you've already got a job with another plumber?
Sure. So the owner of the business is actually moving interstate, but they gave me some really great references. So
Yeah, I see them here. Thanks for sending those along.
I'll pause the video there, but if you're anything like me, it's hard to believe that guy is the same person in both the start and the end of that video, so the fail versus the nail. And what we've got on these to go with these videos is a whole list of questions that you can ask your students to talk about what went well, what shouldn't they do, what should they do, and as I said, a whole lesson plan. So I'm hoping that some people might think that that's useful to use with some of their students in some of the career sessions that they might have. We've got a second video as well. So the first one's about preparing for an interview, and the second one is about succeeding at an interview. So again, I'll let you watch a little bit of the first part, which is the fail, and following that the nail, just to give you a bit of an idea about what the video looks like, and you can think about whether it would be useful for you to use with some of your students.
Hi, you must be Emily.
Yep, that's me. Sorry.
Thanks for coming.
No problem.
Well, Emily, I have a few questions that I ask all our applicants. I'm going to make some notes so I don't forget their answers, so please don't be nervous if you see me scribbling away.
Cool.
So to begin, let's start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm 21. I live with my mum. She's the one who got me to apply for the job. And I love reality TV shows, especially the ones about vegetarian cooking.
Right, good. Why do you want to work for Australian meat exports?
Well, I saw that you guys
So
had a
I'll
job
pause it there before I play the next part for you. But again, what this is alluding to is that so many students, if we think about motivation, attend job interviews and select jobs for all the wrong reasons. So if we're not doing it because we think it's the right thing to do or we want to do it, our chances of success are really slim. I'll move it forward a bit more and you can have a little look at the nail version.
You must be Emily. I'm Amanda.
Hi Amanda, lovely to meet you.
Please sit down. Well, Emily, I've got some questions here that I ask all our applicants, and I'll be taking some notes so I don't forget their answers, so don't be nervous if you see me scribbling away.
Okay.
To begin with, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started studying business when I was completing my HSC, and I've just finished my Certificate 3 in Business Administration. I'm now looking for a role where I can put those skills into practice.
Okay, great. So, Emily, why do you want to work for Australian meat exports?
Well, I've read online that Australian Meat Exports has a great mentoring program that you're using across all areas of the business. It seems like an organisation where you're really encouraged to learn and to grow. I'd like to reach management level one day, and I feel like this is the right organisation to help me achieve those goals.
And what skills do you think you can bring to this administration position?
Well, I can touch type at 60 words per minute, and I can see that you're looking for someone who's able to quickly and accurately type up documents. I can also operate a switchboard, and I'm good at dealing with members of the public, having worked part-time in a
So with
hardware
this
store.
video we have a number of learning, I've just paused it there before it's finished, but we have a number of learning resources that go, teacher resources that can be used in conjunction with that. And again, what you'll see is the teacher resources prompt for questions around the importance of students to have done some research into the business that they might be applying for, and to be able to reference and talk through the job description that employers have put together if they're going to when they're going to be interviewed. So hopefully we've had some great feedback so far, but hopefully some of these things can really help not only just boost interview skills, but help students have a really thorough understanding of what is expected of them and what excellence looks like when it comes to interviewing in a role. Do we have any questions before we move on about using those videos, either succeeding at interview or preparing for an interview? Do people think that that's something that they could use with their students? I'd love you to write yes or no in your chat box, depending on your view. That's excellent. I've got lots of people saying yes and lots of exclamation marks, so I'm thinking that this is probably something that people are going to enjoy. So moving along, and thank you so much for your feedback and participation. The last part that we've got launching on the 1st of July is our Job Fit Quiz. So our Job Fit Quiz assesses two things really. It assesses a student's readiness to work, and it looks at a really basic set of entry-level workplace competencies around conflict, communication, relationships, personal brand, and gets students to answer what they do in certain situations, which is testing and exploring how ready they are to work. Following on from that, it's got the option for students to choose one of 300 particular careers, and these careers that they choose can be something that they pluck out of thin air or a possible career that might have come up on their career quiz, and we'll ask them 5 really specific questions to assess their suitability to that role. For example, it might ask them if they selected plumber. It might ask them whether they've already got an apprenticeship in plumbing. It might ask them if they're good at maths. It might ask them if their organisational ability is good. But it goes through a range of questions that relate directly to that role that they've selected, and then it will give them a percentage match as to whether how suitable they are to that career based on what they've answered. So, for example, if someone's chosen an aircraft engineer, having studied maths at school is going to be really important. Having already an apprenticeship or a traineeship in that particular area is going to be really important. So for anything that a student answers unsure or no to, that's going to impact their final suitability score, but it will give them a specific development point to enhance or develop that skill if they haven't got it already. So if a student does, for example, want to be an aircraft maintenance engineer and they answer the questions and only get one of them right, or they're only suitable to one thing, it will then give them 4 specific development points that they can go away and research. So whether that be about a specific course they need to study, whether that be about work experience or a soft skill that they need to develop, the Job Fit Quiz is designed to assess work readiness and suitability to a particular career. And again, you know, our feedback from parents and teachers and students and employers has been that young people don't know much about their careers. They don't know what their options are. So this is a really, really simple way of just assessing what is involved in the different careers and am I suitable. So as I said, this is another free tool. We're hoping this gets used a lot with the students in their classrooms, but also just when they want to explore and think about what options are available to them. And as I said, this is a free tool as well for students to use. So following on, the first part is assessing work readiness, and what they'll get at the end of that is an output as to their level of work readiness, whether that's low, medium or high, and specific things that they can do to improve their work readiness. We've also got a checklist for students to go away and implement. So we've spoken to some employers to say, if a student starts with you and they're 100% work ready, what would you want to see? And we've got that on there for students that complete it, and then they can also just select how suitable they are to specific careers, and again it's all saved on their Skillsroad profile, so they don't have to do the job fit, the work ready part. Once they've done it, they can just keep plugging in a number of careers to assess their suitability for that particular career. And hopefully, again, that's something that you can use in your classrooms with your students just to get them to, again, explore what's suitable to them based on their strengths and interests and motivation, and you know, what else they might need to do to improve that. Motivation and you know, what else they might need to do to improve that. We're almost done. We're just about to finish. But as I said earlier on, we really want to hear from you, what else we can put on here to help you help your students, and more importantly, help engage your students in the career process. So I'd like to know if there's anything that you can think of, and if there is, please put it in your chat box. Any lesson plans or things that would really help you help your students in their career journey. Anything you can come up with, please type it in your chat box. We've had a question on pathway charts. When the kids do any of the job suitability questions, the development point will talk specifically about the pathway that they need to take in order to get there. So that's coming. More pathway information is coming. So we've got a question, the use of social media and how it can affect employment. Great point. And that's addressed in the quiz that we just went through. So in the work readiness quiz, they have a whole section on the use of personal brand and social media. One of the other things that we've got launching, which I haven't mentioned, is a work readiness course. So if it turns out that students are not particularly work ready at the moment, we're in the process of developing a work readiness course which will go through all of those things and really give them some insight into what's acceptable, what's not, and how they should behave, particularly around social media. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so we're going to wrap up in a minute, but just following on from everything we've talked about today, Skillsroad really is designed to help you help your students, and we want it to be a one-stop shop. So everything that students need in terms of their career to be located on the Skillsroad website. It's free to use. You just need to log in, and again, as I said, create a profile, and it's all stored across all of the things that students do is stored on their profile. So sign up, get your students to sign up and enjoy. As I said, it's free, it's growing, and there's lots of things that are coming on Skillsroad. So we're taking on board all the feedback that we're getting, and if I haven't directly answered anyone's question today, we do get a copy of the chat function. So we'll be trying to incorporate the feedback and the comments that people have as we progress in the development. I'm going to finish up in a minute, but if anyone's got any final questions, please enter them into the chat function. Okay, so we are going to finish up. We've got a few more questions coming through about ideas of things that can go on the website. And yes, a point that employers will Google you, absolutely. We're going to finish up now and try and answer some of these questions, but we also have a feedback form that we'd love you to fill out when you can. Do we have any idea when the work readiness course may be ready? My answer to that is soon, hopefully in the next month or so. I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. If you haven't signed up to Skillsroad, www.skillsroad.com.au, click on the website, enter your name, email, password. There's on the top right hand corner, there's a little black box that says log in or register. So get on there, log in or register if you haven't done already, and you can use all the tools and things that we have on there. Thank you so much for participating today. And again, any feedback, you can put it in the form. Phil's still madly typing some responses to questions here, but thank you so much for your time, and I hope you can use some of these things with your students. Have a great evening, everyone.